All right, so we're gonna do a quick comparison. I got about 10 things, or maybe a bonus 11th, right? That I want to be able to compare, and I apologize in advance that this is handheld, but you know, I need to kind of be mobile and move around these units in order for me to really compare things. So here's what we got. We got the MPC X and the MPC Ren. So there's about 10 things that I want to talk about. The first is the obvious. So let's stand up for this. It's the size. You can see that there's a huge size difference with the X and the Live. Right off top, I don't know exact measurements, but if it's probably got a few inches all the way around on it. And so that's the first thing. Along with that, it's obviously the screen size, right? But, man, such a huge difference. Cool thing is, we can go back there. This has a little kickstand, and mind you, this is an early prototype for some testing and stuff that I'm doing. So there could be some things that may be a little bit different, but overall, this is pretty much the makeup of it. So that's the first thing, the size and the screens. Next, we want to talk about the Q links, the differences in the Q links. If you look here, these Q links, they have LEDs. I don't have a program loaded here. So these have little red LEDs when you scroll around it, but the problem I've always had with this is that you couldn't tell what exactly the Q links map to. What's dope is that when you bring up programs and stuff, the Q links can, like for instance, my SoftSense, the Q links can be different parameters of the synth. Well, good luck knowing what exactly they are unless you're planning on looking at the screen, right? It may tell you over there. I think it'll tell you here and may give you some bit of readout, but it's not going to give you much. One of the cool things that we have now on the X are these little OLED screens, right? I'll get in a little close there, see if you can see those. Sorry if it's not the greatest picture, right? So, but I'm gonna try to get in there. So you have a screen for each Q link, and they map to different things. So if you go to Q link, these buttons up here, like the Q link modes, maybe a different name, but that's what I'm calling them, Q link modes. So when you switch to these different modes, you can tell that the screens change functionality. And obviously screen mode, we're in sample right now. I'm gonna go to main. So obviously in screen mode, you get a lot of cool things with these screens here. Right, you could change pad levels and go to pad scenes and program. But on screen mode, it gives you what's on the screen. What's cool about that is that you get your timing, your program level, your time and your time correct, your swing, it's all real time, shift, then time correction down there. How much of the TC do you want to be affected? All right, so that's that. Next thing is it's kind of small thing, but maybe not such a small thing. So I'll angle this so you can kind of see. You have the cursor arrows, right? And they're pretty much in the same space right above the transport. But there's a new little button in the middle. It's like an execution button, a center button. It's an enter button where you don't have to hit the actual enter button on the number pad, right? So look at the screen here. As I scroll up and down, right? You can select all the different things, but you can hit that center button to actually open up or close windows. Yeah, you don't have anything like that on here. This cursor, there's no center button there. So that's a little better for you. All right. You can scroll around on there. The erase and note repeat are no longer where they were on the Ren. They were right at the bottom of the Q links, erase and note repeat here. Now they've been moved to the other side where the number pad is. So note repeat is here and erase is there. So just some notable differences there. The next thing, number 5 on the list, is vintage modes. So some of you may know the story of vintage modes. Initially, when the Ren was released, we were told that vintage modes was a hardware processing situation where if you turn on the MPC 3000, that the actual circuitry for the 3000 was inside of the Ren, and it was going to give you some authentic processing. We later found out it was just a plug-in that's activated by a hardware button on the top. That's gone. To clarify, vintage modes are still there, but there's no hardware button, no dedicated hardware for it. And if you use the MPC now, you know that you could access vintage mode. Let's see, by going to the plugin section, right? So you could still do that, but there's just nothing dedicated to it in the upper or anywhere on the Ren. This is where it would be. It's not there anymore. So you can see that some of those things have been moved around and moved over here. So it just kind of makes more sense. So vintage mode buttons are gone now. Let's just go back up for those that didn't see this. That size comparison, it's a huge difference. All right, so another thing that's changed, and it makes sense, the function buttons are gone. The F1 through F6 buttons are gone, right? Because you know those correspond to things on the screen, right? That's a very almost machine language, old school 8088 computer language sort of thing to do, to have function buttons there. At any rate, it was really, it's called a renaissance because it was, you know, meant to kind of bring that old school flavor in design, as you can see by the color and the color scheme and everything. So at any rate, those are gone. Not that buttons are gone, but the F1 through F6 are gone. Here we have dedicated buttons for things like menu, browse, step edit, sampler, effects, XY effects, and pad perform. That's obviously a big difference. Let's see. So that's the function keys are gone, but there's dedicated buttons instead. So on the dedicated buttons front, number 7 here is you have the XY effects, and you also can do shift sampler to get into looper. So you just got some other functionality up here that you can kind of get into. Let's see. The redesigned record gain section. No, note repeat is still there. So that's one of the things I just mentioned. Note repeat has been moved from the bottom left, and it's now been moved over here. So we go to main screen. If you hit note repeat, you'll see that you can, you know, do your triplets and all your fly hi-hats and stuff. Okie doke. So let's see, the redesigned record gain section, right? So this was the initial record gain section, and you have your record gain, your direct monitor, and your main level. And that's a little different now. Now you can, it's a lot more flexible, and this meter here is a lot more cool. Steve, I think the retail price is $21.99, so like $2,200 for the X. So the record gain deal, let's see. I don't have a program loaded, but at any rate, this is the new record gain section. So you have this part that's going to give you, and it also has a scribble screen. Oh yeah, that's on the screen, man. So you got this meter section, which is quite a bit different than this bit of a meter section. You can record arm a track. You can do your automation latching, like, so you hit that button, see there. And these things are obviously also available from the touch screen. F buttons. Yeah, so you have dedicated buttons. They're function buttons, but they aren't really called like F1, F2, F3, so forth and so on. They're actually dedicated buttons for certain things. And depending on what screen you are, you may get some ancillary button things right there. Oh, there you go. My bad. Good one, Jerome. So yeah, you do have the F key, but it's a lot different in design. So when you hit the F key, you get those there. But it's not necessarily dedicated buttons like that. So here you have your gain section, right? Notice you only had 3 knobs there. One dedicated gain, that was like a stereo situation for the end. Now you can kind of break these apart. You can do front and rear, stereo, mono for your direct and main, and you get your record gain there and your master here. You can also turn on your phantom power from the top here. Before that was on the back. And let's see. So yeah, then you get the record meter section. And so one of the other things, let me just pull this back so you can see the comparison here of the size. Now, like I said, what I have is sort of a early build. It's not necessarily the production model, but one of the big differences is that the power cord, or the power that it takes, is much different. For the Ren, it's 12 volts. For the X, it's 19 volts. So don't make the mistake of having the power for your Ren and trying to power up your X. Because if you do that, you run the risk of blowing things out. And then you also, this takes much more power. So you're just not going to get some things. Some things are like these OLED screens are not going to light up here. And you may not get this OLED screen. Just some, obviously it just is not enough power. So that's going to be a big thing. Now, the last thing I kind of want to show is, well, not the last thing, but I don't have a light on there, so I don't know if you can see that. You got the SD card, right? Obviously, this does not have the SD card, but that's kind of like a standalone situation. One of the biggest things I noticed, I think, out of the two is that there's a lot of things that I was able to do with one hand. If you can kind of see, I mean, I got long fingers and a pretty big hand, but I was able to do a lot of things with one hand. Shift, save, different things like that. This is a little different because shift is over here and where's save? Save is over here. So it's just the size of it. So you may have some different things that are kind of moved around a little bit, and being the shift, save, and the F key. Shout out to Jerome. Yeah. And you still have your tap tempo here. It's a little different, right? It's a light up button, it's backlit. This one was a solid button with a little tapping LED, flashing LED. So those are kind of the big differences when it comes to the physical things. And I'll do another one of these and we'll kind of get into some other stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to jump on right quick and show y'all some of that stuff. And yeah, this is the MPC X. Is there really 8 CV outs? Yeah, no doubt. Hold on, let's look at that right quick. There is really 8 CV outs. Let's pull that. I need to turn on another light. So bear with me a sec while I flip this light. We'll turn this around this way. So that's a huge difference because yeah, there's the CV gates right across there. See right at the top? So you're getting the same kind of MIDI connectivity and stuff, but you get the CV gates. So if you want to see some, nah, it's not already shipping out, man. This is a early demo unit prototype type of deal. So I don't know what the anticipated ship date is. I don't want to say the wrong date because I just don't know anyway. So I don't want to give you the wrong information. But yeah, that's the X and that's the Ren. I'll be back maybe over the weekend and we'll talk about some other stuff and see what we can get into. But for my people out there that's waiting for the X, real cool stuff coming. All right. Yeah, no doubt. And there it is, the X and the Ren. Peace. Oh, yeah, if you like what I got going on, man, be sure to subscribe. Make sure you stop by beatpeople.com and cop some sample packs and support what I do so I can keep giving you these exclusives and cool content. All right, B-Boy Tech out.